Hey everyone, welcome to the Be Bold, Make Waves podcast, a show bringing you inspiring stories of women who are growing and scaling their business. I'm your host, Laura Comark, a website and tech integration specialist who works with online business owners who love their work and not their website. Join me as we have incredible conversations about business, mindset, productivity, and of course, the website and tech behind the business. Let's go ahead and dive in to this week's episode. Hello and welcome to today's show. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Laura Comark, a website and tech integration specialist for women who love their work, but not their website. I'm so excited about my guest today, Patti Zorr. Patti is a certified master marketer, a passionate advocate for entrepreneurs, influencers, and coaches who want to leverage the power of their book to boost their credibility and grow their audience. As a marketing expert, she specializes in guiding clients through the process of planning, promoting, and launching their book through launch day and beyond. Patti, thank you so much for being here today on the show. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your backstory and how you got into this business?
Yeah, of course, Laura. And thank you so much for having me. And I'm loving our guest here. For anybody who's just listening in, we have a cute little furry friend who is on screen with us. And so, so adorable. So maybe you hear me like chuckle here and there. It might be because just Kitty's doing some really cute things. So I love it. So let's see. I've been helping authors since 2019. I have a marketing background. I've been in the marketing world for well over 20 years and worked for companies B2B and B2C. And for almost nearly 11 years, I was with a company in the consumer goods industry, and I was a digital marketing manager for them, and was also in my 40s and early 40s, and I was in my cubicle one day and I just thought I don't know what it is, but there's something else out there for me. And just started reaching out to my network and ran into a woman who I had met actually at a social media conference like years ago. But we had always kind of kept in touch online. And so she says, hey, I'm working with some author speakers and coaches. She mainly built websites, but she says, I'm starting to do some book launches. Would you want to come on and help me with marketing strategy for that? And I was like, okay. So she's like, if you've thought about going into business on your own, which I just wasn't sure on the capacity of what it would be in. She said, perhaps I'm your first client. And I thought, all right, this is really cool. And so I left the corporate world, started my own business, and worked with her. Again, she focused on building websites and also doing some coaching. Also worked with another author, did some work for him, and then had some other clients in between, but really started understanding the world of book launches. And really a book is it's a product, right? It's a product maybe that really comes from your heart because you do pour your heart into it. But in some ways, it is a product like any other product. And what I started seeing is that what authors were doing is they would wait for launch day to come. They'd, publish their book, and then they'd say, hey, I have a book. And then they didn't sell any books. And so that's where, I would say, well, did you tell anybody that your book was being launched? No. Oh, okay. So I started to see that there were some really common mistakes that authors were making. And listen, marketing's hard. It is not easy, right? So that's where I come in. I'm an expert at what I do. A lot of my authors are experts in their fields. So we just work together to build their strategies and timelines and marketing plan and execute on all that. And I have a ton of fun doing it. And authors are like the most amazing people ever.
I love all that so much. And it's so interesting, like, again, going back to the whole marketing side of things. I mean, I see that as a web designer all the time where people are like, well, my website's live. I'm like, that's great. What's your marketing strategy? Like, just because we build a website, you have to have a plan on how you're going to drive traffic to that website. You have to tell people about your services, your products, what you're doing. Otherwise, it's not if you build it, they will come. It's if you build it, then you need to go tell people about it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that's actually one of the things I say. In fact, I might have just done a post about that recently.
Oh, really?
If you have a book, you have to talk about your book.
Yeah.
But I think it's also hard when we're trying to do it for ourselves, because just like for me, I'm going through a launch right now. It's not a book, but again, it's a product, and it's talking about your own stuff. It is, I don't know what it is. It's hard to do. It's like I need someone telling me what to do, even though I know it. It's just, you just get caught up in your head and you overthink it. And so that's why, a lot of times authors will say, just tell me what to do. And I'm like, okay, I love it.
That. I love that. And, I realize I don't talk about the podcast as much as I feel like I kind of assume everyone knows about it. But you and I were actually recently, we met in person. We were at an event together put on by the fabulous Renee Rebar. She was been on on the show as well, or in one of the earlier episodes. I can link it up in the show notes. But we were at that event and we were going around in a circle talking about our businesses. And we got to the end of, I think there were 6 of us. And something was mentioned like, who here has a podcast? And I think 5 of us raised our hand. Not a single one of us had mentioned in our intro, by the way, I also have a podcast.
Yeah, it's so true. It's just, I do. I think no matter what it is, even as marketing experts, it's hard for us to even talk about our own stuff. And I think it's that being inside the glass jar, looking out, we just see it different than somebody on the outside saying, here's exactly what you need to do, right? It's so clear to everybody else, it seems like, but us when we're in it.
Absolutely. That's why it's so hard to do our own stuff. I know I have friends that I help, they'll come to me. They're like, oh, I'm trying to figure out, some content to put out there. I'm like, oh, you could do about this or that or that or that. Come up with all these ideas. They're like, wow. I'm like, I know, I wish I could do that for myself. It's just so hard.
Yeah.
So I want to hear a little more about your perfect fit authors. Are they self-publishing, or are they going the traditional publisher route? What sort of authors are you working with?
So mostly I work majority with nonfiction authors. However, I can also work with some authors in the fiction space, depending on what your book's about. But anyone who's writing a memoir or a nonfiction book is really my sweet spot. And whether you're self-published or traditionally published, it doesn't matter. The truth is that I've worked with authors who've received well over 6-figure advances from traditional publishing houses, and they will not help you with marketing. They won't do anything. They might have a PR team that might get you a couple of TV interviews, maybe. And it's like the local news stations. It's, if you're a big name, you might get on something like Good Morning America. But even that is, in and of itself, you've got to be a really big name and have tens of thousands of followers, if not hundreds of thousands of followers. But yeah, whether self-published, traditionally published, you need to market your book. That responsibility falls on the author. And a lot of times what authors will do is, they'll publish their book on Amazon if they're self-published, and they'll send readers directly to Amazon to buy their book. And I say that's, one of the mistakes that I see authors making again and again, because what happens when you do that is you have no way of identifying who your readers are. Amazon's collecting their information, but they're not going to share that with you, the author. And so, you want to know who's reading your book, who's consuming your content. You probably wrote 200 pages of content. Don't you want to know who's reading that, right?
So what is your advice on what authors should do instead of sending people to Amazon?
So what I love to do is I build a book sales funnel. And you can think of it as a website specifically for a book. Mm-hmm. As you know, Laura, websites, I have a website, all business owners, we have a website. Websites are important and they have their function. But what happens is if you want to really focus on one specific product or service or book, I love to have a page dedicated to that book. So you're not really saying, visit my website. Now your book funnel could be a page in your website, but you're just sending people directly to that page. And a lot of times we have, I will have my authors have a URL
Mhm.
that matches the title of their book. So when they're podcasting or networking, they're just saying visit mybooktitle.com, and people go directly there. And what we're doing is we're offering the readers bonuses that are really valuable, that are worth $700, almost more valuable than the book itself. Because what we're trying to do is get readers to submit their information. We want to have them go to Amazon or go to their retailer, whether it's online or in store, purchase the book, but then come back to their page, put their name, the email in, and their order number to get access to these additional bonuses. And you'll see that all major influencers use this same process, right? This isn't anything that I made up or that's unique to me. It's actually, if you have your favorite coach or guru that you follow, notice that they're probably sending you, it's a book funnel. It just looks like a website. It's a website for your book. And they're probably going to say, get access to, these free resources. And all you have to do is give us your order number, your name and email, and they'll be sent to your inbox, or you'll be invited to attend a live event or whatever it might be.
I love that so much. It's the importance of getting that email address so you can, who your audience is, and you can start to just develop a relationship with them and nurture them and build that know, like, and trust factor and let them know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why too, I tell authors, because another mistake that authors will make is, as I was talking about before, they wait for launch day to happen and they say, hey, buy my book. And so I said, really you need, 4 to 6 months to really prepare for your book launch. And part of that is one, you want to get your digital assets ready. If you have an author website, if you have a book funnel, again, which I say every author should have, is a book funnel. You need time to develop all of that, create all of that, and put those pieces together. But the other reason why is you also need time to warm up your audience and get them excited. And when you have a book funnel, you can offer things like pre-launch bonuses. So if anybody orders the book, you can say now until your launch date, they get access to something really special. And a lot of times that could be perhaps a live workshop with you. Sometimes we've done giveaways where, we'll have 3 readers. When you opt in, you get a chance to win a one-on-one coaching session with the author, and like 3 readers get a chance to win. So there's all kinds of ways that you can do it. Lots of different things you can do. I have a client right now, and she's going to offer a how to meditate program. That's for a month, just for buying her book. I'm like, you're going to do this for a month? And she's like, yeah, we'll meet once a week and we're going to learn how to meditate. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that is such a huge value.
Yeah,
but that's what you want to do, because you figure the cost of the book is, $15, maybe $20. Ebooks are usually around $10. A lot of times it doesn't matter if you purchase the ebook or the hard cover or paperback, you still get access to that bonus. You can spend $10 and then I'm going to learn how to meditate, right? Like,
sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So what else can business owners, what do they need to be considering when they are writing a book? Like, they need to be thinking about this funnel piece of it. Like, at what point? Because I mean, I also know, like, I have friends who are in the process of writing a book, and it's like pretty long, drawn out process. How do you know, like, what else do they need to be thinking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually have a book here. And so anyone listening will need to come in and watch the video. But yeah, absolutely. As you're writing, you want to be thinking, let me back up a minute. Books, we don't throw them away. We leave them in little libraries. I've got one in my neighborhood. I'm seeing them pop up all over the place. We give them to friends and families. When I was in the corporate world, we had the CEO. He bought a book for everyone in the company. I've had managers share books with me. We don't throw books away. So you never know who could be reading your book. And they may not have purchased it. It could have been a gift. Speaking of gifts, by the way, my son just graduated college. And so I bought him a card, right? Cards are now like $8. or
Yes.
a card.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So when you figure a book, sometimes books are as low as $12. Books make amazing gifts. And again, remember, they last forever because we don't throw them away. And you can write a nice little note inside of it instead of a card that just gets tossed. You can even stick money in the book if you want to do that too, right? Makes a nice bookmark. But the thing with books is, as the author, as you're writing, you want to try to think, how can you identify your reader? And there's a lot of different things you can do. And I think sometimes authors forget about this, is you can use your book as a sales tool. And there's a couple ways to go about it. So we talked about building that know, like, and trust factor, which I always want to lead with that first, always lead with value. But here's a book. This one's called The Pillar Bees. This was a client of mine, and he dropped a QR code in there. And when readers scan that QR code, they're then taken to a special page where they have to, again, put in their name and email, but then they get access to worksheets, downloadables. There's a workbook, there's audio files that are all available to the reader. And how he did it is he broke it up by chapters. So you finish a chapter, you scan the QR code, you get to the page, you download the worksheet. And again, some chapters he had some audio files because we really wanted that reader to make that transformation, right? We read a book, but then as the reader, we're kind of left to our own devices to then go off and then follow that advice we just read. So by having downloadables, worksheets, it could be meditations, it could be videos, access to a course, just how can you help that reader really make that transformation? And then the other thing you can do at the back of the book is, if you do any kind of speaking or coaching or you have courses, you can put something in the back of the book about that. It's okay to talk about those other products and services. And a lot of authors want to be speakers. Put your speaker bio and let readers know how they can access you. Because again, you never know, there could be a CEO reading your book and he may want to have you come speak to his company. So definitely use your book as a sales tool, right? You're always leading with value, but at the back, put those sales pages in there. You can have multiple sales pages, one for your course, one for speaking, one you can send people to your website, right? It could be, you can get creative with it and have fun with it. So, but the idea is you're just trying to identify who your readers are.
I love that so much. I think that's such incredible advice. And I've seen that. I mean, there's plenty of books that I've read that have all those things that you just went over. And that's how I've opted into a lot of those lists, is from the call to action that they have in the book to do that. So yeah. I love that. There's so much value in that. So what mistakes do you see that a lot of authors are making? I know we've talked about some, but are there some other ones also that we haven't already touched on?
Yeah. So we said sending readers directly to Amazon, not giving yourself enough time to launch or warm up the audience, not talking about your book. That's a big one. You've got to be out there. I know a lot of people hate social media, but listen, it's free. I mean, really, it doesn't cost us anything to go out and talk about our book and promote our book. And it's the same thing, just being consistent with it. But also do things like podcasts. And when you are podcasting, let's say, Laura, I would be launching a book. I might say to you, hey, I have a book launch coming out in September. Would you mind saving this and posting this interview in September? And a lot of times podcasters will say, yeah, of course, if I've got the space, right, I'll do that. So it's okay to, ask people for help. Reach out to other authors. Authors do support authors. You can also, when you are doing live interviews, if you have a bookshelf, like I have one in my back behind me, set your book up behind there, right? Put your book back there so everyone can see it, right? Every time you're doing anything, you're online or posting, everybody sees your book back there. But that's the biggest thing is you have to make sure you're talking about your book. And then really have a strategy and a plan that you can put to, that you can follow, so that you're just not working blindly and doing something here on social media here and sending an email there. Really put a plan together, what you're going to do and when, and just give your audience 2 months, warm them up, let them know your book is coming. It's just like when we go to the movies and we sit down. Like I saw Top Gun last year, and I swear we sat through like 20 minutes of movie trailers, right? It felt like forever, but that's the movie studios warming the audience up. And a lot of those movies were coming out, 6 months or a year from that date. And because the studios know, right? If they just wait for the movie to be available, nobody's going to just show up to the movie theater, right? We have a life.
Yep. Oh, I love that. That's such a great example. To explain to our audience about the importance of warming up the audience. I love that. I haven't heard that analogy yet. So I love that one for the movie theater. That makes so much sense. When is the perfect time for someone to reach out to you and start working with you?
So I say, as you're writing your book, if you're close to finishing the first copy of your manuscript and you're about to send it off to editing, that's a great time. One, because you still have time to drop in QR codes if you want to add those sales pages to the back. If there's things you want to do. I had one author, she had a memoir, and she actually put a secret QR code in a certain area. One, she wanted to know, are readers making it this far? And she really gave them something like really cool if they did make it that far and found the QR code, so that, you can kind of gamify it a little bit. So yeah, once that first manuscript is about done, you're about to send it off to that first round of editing, that's a really great time.
And then how long do people typically work with you for?
So it's about, with my one-on-one private coaching clients, it's somewhere, it's usually around the 6-month range on average, sometimes a little longer, a little shorter, but I would say on average, it's about 6 months.
And then you also have group program as well?
I do. Yeah. In fact, I have a program. It's called Book Launch Live. And if you're listening to this and it's not happening live, you can sign up to get notified for it. But yeah, this is actually really fun. So it's a 9-week group coaching program where we're going to have authors come in, and basically everything I do for my one-on-one clients, we're going to do in a group setting. Now, you're not going to do everything because you would get so overwhelmed, but I'm going to give you exactly what you need to get going. And then you'll have the resources to do some of the other things if you want to go off and do them on your own. But we're going to build your free chapter share page, which is a great way just to help attract readers, right? Give them a free chapter and leave them wanting more. And of course, there's a call to action at the end of that free chapter. But again, we're asking potential readers to opt in to get access to that free chapter. We're going to build your book funnel with an upsell page, because now we're setting your book up so you can now really make money with your book, because unfortunately, ROI on book sales, it's not very high. Think about it. If you have a book that's, $15, well, you're paying fees to Amazon for print on demand. So by the time, you get anything, it's sometimes $3 per book. It's not huge dollars. So we try to use that book funnel with an upsell page so that you can upsell then to your workbook, course, coaching, consulting, what could be a mastermind, a live event. So you're really setting your book up to now make money for you and really increase your return on investment. And then we're also going to build that reader resources page. So just like I talked about putting that QR code or URL in your book to then send readers to get access to downloadables, to videos, we're going to build that page as well. And then, of course, I'm going to give you the strategy and timeline. So at the end of 9 weeks, you'll have everything done, and you'll have a strategy and a timeline, and you'll know exactly what you're going to be doing for your launch. And so I'm really excited for it.
I love that. I love the hand-holding aspect of it. And I love group programs because of all the connections I make and the long-term friendships, and just being with other people who are sort of in the same, going through the same challenges you're going through and some of the same mindset hurdles, and being there to really support each other. So I love that. I think that's
and
wonderful.
Authors really do support each other, right? Because think about it. You're going to have a group of people who are probably going to come in and buy your book, review your book, and hopefully promote you on your behalf, because getting in front of other people's audiences, having them be able to promote or bring you on to an IG live in front of your audience or podcasts. There's so many different ways to get in front of other people's audiences. So that's the other advantage too, of being part of a group cohort.
I love that so much. And I will drop the link for that down in the show notes. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk a little to you about more about your business and about kind of the tech side of things. You have a website. Can we talk a little bit about, has your website always looked like it has today? Or can we talk just a little bit about that? Because as a web designer, I love talking
Yes.
all things websites.
Of course. Yes. So when I first started my business back in 2019, I taught myself how to build my own website on WordPress. I just watched a bunch of videos, proof that you can learn anything you want online for free if you have the time. And I went down a lot of rabbit holes, right? But I did. I built my first website on WordPress and it was awful. But, I had to get scrappy. I literally, because I was still working my day job. So I bought like a separate laptop. I wasn't going to use company property. I think it was like Christmas break. Like I spent the whole break like building my websites. I used my own time, my own property on this little dinky laptop that was like a holiday special. But I did it, right? And then I then hired a professional then to help me build a website that was more professional looking. It was built in WordPress and they used a program called Elementor, and I just wasn't familiar with it. And I was struggling to try to make updates and changes. And just because I didn't understand Elementor and WordPress, and I didn't, at this point, I was kind of in the thick of my business and didn't have time to like stop and go learn it, because I started working on the FG Funnels platform. FG stands for Funnel Gorgeous. And so it was just this year, I moved my website from WordPress onto the FG Funnels platform. And listen, it's personal preference for everybody. For me, I just find it easier. I run my whole business off of FG Funnels, my sales pages, my CRM, everything is there. So I love now having my website there because it's really easy to, make updates and changes. And in fact, just this morning I was in there and getting ready to do a workshop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to add something to my website about my workshop. Right. So I went in and it took me 10 minutes to go in and like, hey, if you want to join, click here. Right. So yeah, I love the FG Funnels platform. For me, I just find it easy. I'm not a techie person. I kind of know a little bit of code, but I'm not going to say like it's like 101, if even I know that much.
I love that. I think it's so important that we have tech that we feel comfortable getting into and touching things on the back end, or we're able to have someone that is a trusted person who we can reach out to when we have help. I have a lot of clients that I have two different types of clients. One that I make training videos for everything with websites. And so I send over like a whole library of like, here's how you do everything. They're like short, little digestible videos. And I do that for all my clients. And I have some who never view the videos ever. And if they have a question or they need something done, they just reach out and they have me do it. And I have other clients who go through all the videos. They might still have a question about something, or there's something else that they want to know how to do. And I just make them a video, they watch it and they say, great. And so to me, I've always loved that because I've always think it's important that my clients have tech that they are empowered to make changes to, and then are able to make that decision of either I want to touch it or I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I've also been hearing a lot more recently where I have Amanda Kuklins, who was just on the podcast last week. She had talked about an experience she had with one of her first websites, and she wasn't given any training and wasn't able to go in and make any changes. Yeah. She had to rehire to like change a link. And I'm like, that's not okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we feel comfortable going in and touching things, or we know where to find answers to things. So I love that you're on a platform that like you're comfortable in making those changes, because that stuff can be so stressful.
It can. Yeah. And I'm going to say too, even though I feel really comfortable in the program, the great news is the program is always adding new bells and whistles. And so now I'm in the position of, I need to like start catching up, because I'll see new things show up right on my dashboard. I'm like, oh, what is this? Right. They just added AI, or obviously that one wasn't hard to figure out, but the platform is really capable of doing so much. And I don't even take advantage of all of it, but Yeah. So it is, it's technology does change so quickly. Um, and yeah, sometimes it's hard to keep up. So
It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say were some of the fears and doubts you had when you were first starting your business, and how did you overcome them?
oh, okay. I would say obviously there's the fear of, oh, I get, okay, there's a couple things here. All right. So I think just showing up for one, meaning like just really putting myself out there. It wasn't, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't until February of last year that I did my first reel. And I went to a conference and the speaker, she basically told us to show the F up. So I got home and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this reel. I fought it for so long. I didn't want to do it. And then it's like anything, it wasn't that hard. It wasn't, obviously it was nerve wracking in the beginning. And then I remembered, I don't have a huge following. I don't have tens of thousands of people watching. And that actually is a really good thing because so you mess up or you look like a fool, who cares? Like it's not like all these people are paying attention. So you kind of don't really care. So I learned to just like, yeah, just not care as much and just do it and just show up and just shoot the darn reel. And even if you have to hold it in your phone or hold the phone in your hand because whatever, you broke your ring light, because I did that. Just do it. Just show up. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And it actually really does work when you do it. I do get a lot of referrals from social media. And I'm going to tell you too, a lot of those people don't ever engage on my posts. But I'm like, how'd you hear about me? Oh, I saw you online. Oh, really?
I think you just touched on something that's so incredibly important. The fact that it's people who they see it and they don't necessarily engage.
Yeah.
Because I find that too. It's not the people who are engaging necessarily that are the ones that later get on my email list or reach
Yeah.
out for work. I mean, it's really fascinating to me that is because I know that there's all the vanity metrics of it.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
But yeah, and even for authors, it's just show up, just start talking about the book, right? Make it about the viewer. Talk as if you're talking to one viewer, as if you're just having a conversation like we are now. Um, you don't have to script it out. You know your stuff, right? You wrote a book, or if you have a course or you're a coach, like your stuff. And I think the other thing is people fear is like, oh, I'm going to give it all away. Praise to you if everybody's like following every word you're saying in every post. But again, until you get those tens of thousands of followers, which again, even still, I follow some influencers that have 100,000 plus followers, and I don't even hang on to every word they say. So yeah, definitely showing up for sure. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Do it. I would say some other fears, of course, is just like sales and getting clients. Obviously when we're in business for ourselves, and I have mouths to feed. And like I said, I just have my son just graduated high school. Now there's like college to think about and a mortgage, all the things, right? So definitely having consistent sales and so, yeah, that of course was a big fear, and showing up again helps that as well, right? Like I said, people reach out to me and a lot of my referrals come from social media, even though my engagement isn't really very high, people are still seeing it.
love that so much. I think that's such important pieces of running a business and
Yeah.
some of the stuff that isn't always talked about. Um, I know I've been trying to be really consistent with showing up on social. I had an Instagram gal who was doing my Instagram posts for about 2 years because I really struggled with Instagram. Like the platform itself confuses me. Facebook I got, but for whatever reason, Instagram just confuses my brain. And so I outsourced that, and it was amazing because then I knew I was showing up consistently every week, and that felt really good to me. Um, and I recently just started posting more. I'm using Social Bee and like posting on more platforms. And I'm getting people reaching out and they're like, hey, I saw you posted on LinkedIn. You're getting real active on LinkedIn. I was like, cool. So people notice.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. So it's definitely worth the time and effort. And if you don't have the time to do it yourself, there are people out there who can do it for you. And yeah, actually this year, I've actually hired someone to help support me with that as well, because I started noticing I'm spending a lot of time here and I need to start focusing, on really connecting and trying to engage with people and doing things like, building workshops and group coaching programs, right? So sometimes it is hard to be all things, when in our businesses. So yeah, don't hesitate to, look for some help, right? And you can start small. I started small. I I don't have somebody doing all the things for social media, but enough to like free up several hours a week for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Getting that time back.
Yeah.
So I am a big fan of celebrating our wins. And I would love to know, what is something you're really proud of that you've done and accomplished in your business that we can celebrate?
Oh, so I'm just going to say this year, I really took a lot of action. I rebuilt my website, which I had been wanting to do for a long time. Part of that process was just redoing that services page and really helped me to dial in what it is I offer. And I feel really good because for the first time, I feel like I have something for everyone. Before, it was really just one-on-one coaching, but it's hard to be, it's hard to scale your business if you're going to do one-on-one, unless you can charge, right? 25,000, 50,000. I'm not there yet per client. Some people do what I do and charge that. But it's a lot of work, right? One-on-one versus being one to many. And so that group coaching program we were talking about earlier with Book Launch Live, I'm so excited about that because now I get to help those authors who couldn't afford to do that one-on-one business with me. I felt, I still felt like, gosh, I wanted to help them and I just didn't know how to do it. So that group coaching program will really help people get their marketing assets done. We're going to talk about your strategy, your timeline. And so I'm so excited. So I guess that's a long-winded answer. It's a lot of things, but I guess if I were to summarize it, it's just really dialing in my services so that now I have something for everyone, whether do it yourself, do it in a group, or have it done for you.
I think that's a huge accomplishment. And I love that so much. That's a great thing to celebrate. I love it.
Good. Thank you.
What would you say that you're doing different in the industry? Something that you're maybe making waves in the industry and being bold about that your other book coaches aren't necessarily doing?
Yeah. So I think for me, even I mentioned earlier that a lot of the major influencers you follow, that they all have a book funnel. And of course, I follow other people that do what I do. And I still feel like we all sort of do it in our own way. And I think that what I'm seeing is that I really am pushing that book funnel, having that book funnel as part of your launch strategy. That really can be just that main thing. And then everything you do, you're just sending people to that book funnel, whether it's a post, it's your link in bio, it's a podcast, it's speaking. That book funnel will just do everything. It attracts customers because you've got those bonuses on there. You're identifying who your readers are because when they buy the book, they're opting in. And then you're really monetizing with your book because then you have that upsell page. And, I see people give a lot of like strategy, but I really want, a book funnel is part of a strategy, but it just works. And it is so easy to do. Like I said, I build them. I don't do code, right? I'm not a WordPress expert, but using a platform like FG Funnels just makes it so easy. And really, you can look at one of your favorite authors. There's several women who are launching books right now that I'm seeing, and you can just follow what they do, follow their page. You can look at my website and I have examples on there too, right?
Oh, I love that. Well, Patti, we are getting close to our time today. This has been so much fun. I could just talk to you all day. I loved talking about all this stuff. But I have one question that I ask everyone who comes on the show. And that is, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone when they are starting out in their business to be bolder, be louder, and make waves?
I'm going to go back to just showing up. And if you're afraid and you're nervous, or you're scared, or your fear of judgment, nobody's judging. And if they do, who cares? But I think what you're going to find is it's going to be so much more positive and beneficial to your business. So just show up online, make the darn reel already. Just do it and be consistent. It's hard to be consistent and just do it messy. And not everything I do is perfect. I like it to be perfect, but I've learned to let go of that and just do it messy. So it's okay.
We're big fans of doing it messy around here. So I love that so much. Patti, where can everyone go find you online, hang out with you, see your reels?
Yeah. So pattizorr.com, PATTIZORR, and then at Patti Zorr on Instagram.
Wonderful. I will link all that up in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was so much fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. I loved it. This was a really great conversation. So I hope to be back.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to check out the show notes at lauracomark.com/podcast. And if you're ready to turn your website into a marketing machine, get more sales, save time, and simplify the back end of your business, grab my free resource, Power Integrations for your website. Head on over to lauracomark.com/power. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe. And also, I'll just love you forever if you leave me a review. It helps get this podcast in front of other people that can help inspire. Thanks so much for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye now.